and Pat McAfee will kick off. Pittsburgh won the toss, and they elected to receive Jacoby Jones, the former Raven who was with San Francisco, and then they let him go and got here about 3 weeks ago, ready to receive. And on this chilly and clear night at Heinz Field, the game starts with Jones coming out from about 8 yards deep to the 13, and he loses the ball. Jacoby Jones, the Colts are all there at the bottom of the pile, and it appears that DeJohn Smith has come up with the ball. So Jones, of all things, 8 yards deep, though he did run a kickoff back in the Super Bowl, 108 yards, when Baltimore met San Francisco, drops one on the ground, and Smith recovers.
I think that was Jonathan Newsom who comes in there and strips that ball out. Unbelievable. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, you're going up against a team that has beaten you soundly a season ago. You feel like you need a break to get you going on the opening kickoff. Here you go, set up on the Steelers' 11-yard line.
DeJohn Smith with the recovery, a rookie out of Florida Atlantic, and so Hasselbeck runs his first play from the Pittsburgh 11. And through the middle goes Frank Gore, so many years with San Francisco, picks up 3 here. It'll be 2nd down and 8. Hasselbeck, the first quarterback in the history of the league to win his first 4 after turning 40. And he may have the job for a little while longer. We just don't know when Andrew Luck is going to get cleared to come back, though he did start throwing in the past few days in practice. Second and 8. They spread it out. They go 5 wide. Hasselbeck to the outside and low, intended for Andre Johnson, who spent 12 years with Houston and came over in the offseason. 3rd and 8.
Well, Matt Hasselbeck hasn't done much of that so far. Just a quick little out, and Hasselbeck is going to mistime this one or something. That was too easy. You get a guy the size of Andre Johnson that open, he's going to walk in for a touchdown.
And he knows it. They spread it out again. Empty the backfield on 3rd down and 8. There's Andrew Luck looking on. Steelers only rush 3, and Hasselbeck has an intercepted at the 1-yard line. Picked off by Jarvis Jones. So back-to-back turnovers, and the Steelers come away with the ball, and Jones says, "Ooh, thank you very much." 51 seconds into the game, already a crazy start. So after the interception, now you've got D'Angelo Williams trying to get outside, and he will get wrestled down there by Robert Mathis. So a gift wrap, Christmas gift on the kickoff, and then it was turned right back, re-gifted by Indianapolis here.
Jarvis Jones going to drop back right underneath this. Obviously Hasselbeck never sees him, but I really believe that Will Allen was going to intercept it if Jarvis Jones had not. So a very poor start for Matt Hasselbeck.
2nd and 11 from the 5-yard line. And again, they give the ball to Williams, and he breaks free. And D'Angelo Williams, and what a pickup he has been. Le'Veon Bell, their #1 guy. He was suspended for a couple of games. Then he tore up his knee about 4 weeks ago, and it's Williams who now assumes the top role. 20-yard gain here.
Watch the block in front by Roosevelt Nix here to really free him up. But I thought D'Angelo Williams, forget statistics for a minute. I thought the game D'Angelo Williams had a week ago was one of the best games I've seen by a back in a long time. The way he blocked, his receiving skills, he ran tough in that game. It was tremendous.
At the age of 32, here he goes again. And nothing happening there. Can't escape, no gain. Let's take a look at the Pittsburgh offense.
Ben Roethlisberger, Miami Redhawks.
D'Angelo Williams, the University of Memphis.
Will Johnson, West Virginia.
Antonio Brown, Central Michigan.
Marcus Wheaton, Chandler High School.
Jesse James, Penn State.
Alejandro Villanueva, United States Military Academy.
Ramon Foster, Tennessee.
Cody Wallace, Texas A&M.
David DeCastro, Stanford.
Marcus Gilbert, Florida.
One key guy missing, Heath Miller, who has rarely missed a game in
Ball's
his
out.
long career. And again, he have a fumble with a flag down, and Indianapolis has come up with the ball. But a flag is down. Kendall Langford comes away with the ball along the sideline. And Ronald Torbert is the referee tonight. We will get the call.
Holding. Offense, number 72. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is a first down, Indianapolis.
2 minutes and 42 seconds into the game, we have 3 turnovers.
Great play right here by Nate Irving. He's going to come off the block of Roosevelt Nix this time and still strip that ball out. He's filling in for Jarrell Freeman in this game, and what a way for him to start. So right away, Matt Hasselbeck and his Colts offense gets another opportunity inside the 25-yard line of the Steelers.
Credit the recovery to Billy Wynn. The ball is at the 25-yard line. So another short field here. Can they take advantage? And this is a nice 8-yard gain to the 17 for Gore as we meet the Indianapolis starters.
Matt Hasselbeck, Boston College.
Frank Gore, the U.
T.Y. Hilton, FIU.
Andre Johnson, BU. Dwayne Allen, Clemson.
Kobe Fleener, Stanford University.
Joe Wrights, Western Michigan.
Jack Muhort, The Ohio State University.
Jonathan Harrison, Florida.
Lance Lewis, San Diego State.
Denzel Good, Marshall University.
In that line, missing 2 starters. Been shuffling around all year long, and coming up to make the tackle right there is Bud Dupree, their #1 draft choice, along with Ryan Shazier, who was their #1 draft choice last year.
Yeah, you get down and start making some plays, you're going to start seeing some action come off the corner. Here's Will Allen's going to blitz right inside Andre Johnson. And these wide receivers, the more you watch of the Steelers, they're going to shoot safeties, they'll shoot corners. These wide receivers cannot do what Andre Johnson just did there.
3rd and 4, you saw Andrew Luck with the earpiece in, helping out along the sideline. Zerlon Tipton comes into the game, flanking Hasselbeck. He stays in the block, and they flare him out. Matt rolling to his left, looking, and he takes a shot at the 17 by William Gay. So he comes up a couple of yards short of the first down, and Adam Vinatieri and his friends will come out to attempt a field goal.
Well, you see Hasselbeck, he was looking left, didn't like anything he saw, started to scramble around, still didn't like it, was going to try and run for it, and that's why he put his head down. There really just was nothing working. And don't forget, this Steelers defense coming off a very tough day against Seattle a week ago.
35-yard attempt by the 42-year-old Vinatieri, the oldest player in the league. Boots it through. Crazy start in Pittsburgh, 3-0 Colts. Just across the river from downtown, Heinz Field, opened in 2001. Home of the Steelers and the Pitt Panthers. And this time Jacoby Jones, and the crowd lets him know, hey, thank you very much. Don't bring it out from even a yard in. Let's take a look at the Indianapolis defense.
Kendall Langford, Hampton.
David Perry, Stanford. Billy Wynn, Boise State.
Eric Walden, Dublin High. DeQuell Jackson, Maryland.
Nate Irvin, North Carolina State.
Robert Matthews, Alabama A&M.
Greg Toller, St. Paul's College.
Mike Adams, Delaware Blue Hens.
Dwight Lowry, San Jose State.
Vontae Davis, Dunbar Senior High School, D.C.
Vontae Davis is very good, figures to have his hands full, figures to spend a lot of time facing one Antonio Brown tonight. That's Marcus Wheaton, had a big game in Seattle. He goes in motion, and Roethlisberger's first pass is caught. That's Jesse James. The tight end, the crowd is going Heath, but Heath Miller is not playing tonight. That's James. Take a look at Roethlisberger. Tremendous game last year here. They ran up 51 points. He threw for 522 yards, and all he had was 6 touchdowns that afternoon.
Old habits are hard to break, though.
Aren't they?
He's throw it out there.
Every tight end is Heath. 2nd and 5.
Ralph.
And Ben has a clean pocket, whips it to the outside, and that's caught by Darius Hayward-Bay, and he stays in bounds for a few more yards. to pick up the first down. Tackled there by Mike Adams. It's a gain of 21 yards.
Sometimes you get people who are used to rushing the passer out here, and they get a little confused in coverage. There's Jonathan Newsom going to try and jump the underneath route by Antonio Brown and really let go what was going on in behind him. They're trying to come out and play a little mixed man zone, but Ben Roethlisberger, we know what he can do throwing the football, and he can get red hot and has against this Colts defense.
Now he brings Nix into the backfield to go 4 wide here, and he throws. And that's to the 50-yard line. And again, James making the catch. That maybe they have James, and you also have Matt Spaeth as the 2 tight ends, and that is Jesse James, a rookie out of Penn State, drafted in the 5th round. Todd Haley, offensive coordinator. Took a while for him to blend with Roethlisberger when he took over for Bruce Arians a few years ago, but right now this offense explosive. Greg Minuski is the defensive coordinator. Went to Colgate, running the defense for the Indianapolis squad. 2nd down and 5 from the 49. Ben, very clean pocket again, fires over the middle, and that's Jesse James. Already 3 catches as he takes the ball to the 29-yard line. That's a gain of 21.
Well, first of all, you're going to get a chip right out here on Trent Cole. That's D'Angelo Williams we talked about. But just zone defense inside, and so far it's been all tight ends. And Jesse James going to get his own chant here pretty soon.
At the 29-yard line. Blitz coming. They pick it up. It's a dump off to Williams. He gets tackled at the 29. Hey, go figure this. All season long, the Steelers had lost 3 fumbles. 3 in 11 games. Then they lose 2 in the first couple of minutes tonight, including 1 by Williams. But a great pickup. They figured he would play the first 2 games of the season when Bell was suspended, and he did. And then little would they figure that Bell would get hurt, gone for the year, knee surgery, and Williams would have to be the guy down the stretch. 2nd and 10 from the 29. And that's caught. Brown makes his first catch of the night, and look at those moves. Taking it to the 14-yard line. Like a pinball. First down.
Well, they're not playing the man coverage that we thought we might see, that we usually get out of this Colts secondary, maybe because they put up so many points a year ago. A little man at the top of this field with Vontae Davis, but when you've got Antonio Brown, player of the month in November, put everybody you got on him.
6:20 left in the quarter. That's a draw play. To the 11-yard line goes D'Angelo Williams on the first run on this drive, which has consumed 4 minutes, 7 plays. So Williams, so many years after a great college career at Memphis, plays at Carolina, known as double trouble. He and Jonathan Stewart were double trouble for many years. And then he became a free agent, and it was on to Pittsburgh, where he knew he'd back up Bell, but he figured he'd get a lot of playing time in, and he certainly has.
Yeah, he told us he wanted to have an opportunity to play for a Super Bowl champion. Picked out Pittsburgh. Didn't bother him. He was going to back up Le'Veon Bell. Worked out all right. He has matched the numbers of Bell so far this year.
2nd down and 8. And Roethlisberger throws, and that is incomplete. Brown looks for a flag, and there is none. Vontae Davis covering on the play. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
Antonio Brown telling us that, you know, Vontae is not so physical coming off the ball, but very physical at the point of the catch. And you see it there immediately. Antonio Brown pops up looking for the flag. A lot of contact, little jersey pull, no call. 2 good players going at it right there.
Roethlisberger's first incomplete pass. He is 6 out of 7 for 67 yards. Brown comes out of the backfield into the slot. Then looking that way, throws to the outside and hits the pylon, incomplete, intended for Marcus Wheaton, coming off a 200-yard game at Seattle last week. Davis covering, and they'll have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Yeah, never had a 100-yard game, and then all of a sudden last week had a 200-yard game. Gets his head around pretty late here. Just purely timing kind of throw. He's probably done that with Antonio Brown thousands of times. and Wheaton, and he just unable to figure it out. And you could tell Ben thought he had it.
29-yard attempt. Chris Boswell, counting preseason, he would be the 4th kicker this season. They lost Sean Sweezum in the first game of preseason, but they found their man in Boswell, who ties the game with 5.5 to go in the opening quarter in Pittsburgh. Quan Bray will field this kick in the end zone. And that will give the Colts possession at the 20-yard line when we come back to Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. Colts now from the 20-yard line beginning this drive. Hasselbeck slings it to the outside and right on target to T.Y. Hilton. Close to a first down. Let's take a look at the Pittsburgh D.
Stephon Tuitt, Notre Dame.
Steve McClendon, T. Roy.
Cam Hayward, The Ohio State.
Bud Dupree, Kentucky. Ryan Shazier, The Ohio State University.
Lawrence Timmons, Florida State.
Jarvis Jones, Georgia. William Gay, Louisville.
Will Allen, The Ohio State.
Mike Mitchell, Ohio University.
Antoine Blake, Missouri City, Texas.
The defense good up front thus far this season. The linebackers just trying to keep the guys healthy if they can. The issue's been the back end. Blitz coming. Look out. Hasselbeck gets buried. Will Allen from the blind side.
Got James Harrison going to come down first, and then it leaves nobody out here to block Will Allen when he comes second off the edge. A very well orchestrated blitz right there, and Hasselbeck just didn't see it. So far, mission accomplished, though, for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Keith Butler, their defensive coordinator. Hasselbeck has been getting rid of the football so quickly, they felt like if they could make him just hold it for one count, they could get there.
So Keith Butler took over for the legendary Dick LeBeau. He'd been the linebackers coach and not on the same page that time. Gore running down the sideline. It will be 3rd down and 15.
Yeah, that's about the pace that Hasselbeck would like to get rid of the ball. Now, he would prefer to have a receiver somewhere in the area when he does that, but this is really what sort of turned it around. Andrew Luck is a guy that plays a little like Ben Roethlisberger. You know, he likes to hold the ball, move around, make big plays down the field, and Hasselbeck has been quite the opposite. Catch it and throw it.
3rd and 15. Colts have run 9 plays and gained 14 net yards. 5-man rush, and Hasselbeck throws, tipped and picked off. The second Steeler takeaway. Tipped ball, and Brandon Boykin, a guy that the fans have been pining for to get him in the game. They picked him up in a trade during training camp from Philadelphia, has barely played, but comes up with the interception off the tip by William Gay, intended for Whalen.
Boykin's going to drop back out of it, but it's William Gay who makes the play, reads this perfectly underneath Griff Whalen, tips the ball in the air.
Play of an interception,
and then there's Boykin, and that couldn't feel any better for that young man.
Only hope for Indy is that it hit the ground. It's under review right now. Looks good.
The ruling on the field of an interception is confirmed. Pittsburgh's ball, first down.
Ron Torbert confirming that it was tipped by Gay, intercepted by Boykin, and they have the ball at the 37-yard line.
You'll see William Gay just level off here, so the outcut has absolutely no chance whatsoever by Griff Whalen. And I don't know exactly what's going on, but so far Hasselbeck has not seen the field very well at all here tonight.
And he is 1 of 5 for 10 yards and 2 interceptions. Williams gets to the 33-yard line. That's a gain of 4. 2nd down and 6.
Well, we've got really reshuffled offensive lines on both of these football teams trying to make do, and there's Hasselbeck trying to figure it out with Clyde Christensen on the bench. But for a makeshift offensive line without 2 of their best players, Marquise Pouncey and Kelvin Beachum, these guys are doing all right now.
Ben stepping up, buys time, throws, and the pass is incomplete, intended there for Jesse James, covered by the linebacker Nate Irving. It'll be 3rd down and 6.
Well, we've seen Nate Irving make some big plays already in this game. Not bad for a backup linebacker. Going to come out underneath this thing on Jesse James as he wheels down the boundary. It sounds like a Western movie or something, but there he is. No pass interference. I thought that was pretty well timed up. Didn't get his head around. Got lucky. It was just perfectly timed.
3rd and 6. Brown out of the backfield. Ben says no, the other way. And going for the end zone, juggled and incomplete. Darius Hayward-Bay, who spent some time with Indianapolis a couple of years ago, covered by Toller. It's 4th down.
Boy, Greg Toller got away with a lot of hand fighting on this one. Watch his hands just sort of rip down back and forth. They're going, grabbing each other's hands. Enough give and take there, but Toller gets that arm in there and knocks it away. Great play. Almost picked off.
So now a 51-yard field goal attempt. Chris Boswell, he was in the Texans camp for a while last year. He's with the Giants in preseason this year. They cut him, and Pittsburgh signed him about 4 games into the season, and a 51-yarder is good. 3:15 to go in the opening quarter. 6-3 Steelers. Chuck Pagano to say he has some grizzled veterans would be to understate it. Take a look at these guys. The team leaders, Hasselbeck would lead in passer rating. Frank Gore's 32, comes over from San Francisco. Mike Adams, 34, has 5 picks. Robert Mathis, who missed all of last year, leads in sacks. Vinatieri is 42, and of course he's kicking as well as ever. They were kidding around with Hasselbeck. They randomly drug tested him, and some people thought, oh, all of a sudden he's playing well. As you look at Ryan Grigson, their GM, and they found no Geritol, from what I understand. He laughed. He liked it. A yard into the end zone, Quan Bray brings the ball back out to the 26-yard line. With 3:09 to go in the opening quarter. Hasselbeck had only 2 picks coming into the game, and 2 in the first quarter. Of course, the Steelers have also turned the ball over twice. The Steelers have now turned the ball over 16 times in the last 5 games plus this quarter.
It's interesting, isn't it, seeing a veteran quarterback like that looking down at a wristband. We'll get into that story a little bit, but when they changed offensive coordinators, a lot of things changed with this Colts team.
From the 26-yard line. Matt changing it with the play clock at 2. And then Gore takes the ball to the 29. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, Al, I spoke to Andrew Luck before the game and asked him about a projected time frame for his return. He thinks week 15 is very possible. He says he's feeling good, but both the lacerated kidney and the abdominal issue continue to be problems. Neither one of them is resolved yet. Still, he thinks he's on a good time frame for being back by week 15, Al.
All right, Michelle, that would mean, if he is, next week to go to Jacksonville. He couldn't play then, but Houston then would go to Indianapolis in what could be a very significant game, and that would be week 15. 2nd and 7. Hasselbeck hit from behind as he throws, but he does get it away, and then a nice tackle is made by Williams, Vince Williams, on Kobe Fleener, setting up a 3rd down and short. Jarvis Jones almost got to Hasselbeck that time.
Yeah, good call. But Joe Wrights, who has moved from right tackle over to left tackle, and a former basketball player, grew up at Western Michigan playing college basketball, and has done a heck of a job playing at both tackle positions. I don't know where they would be this year if it weren't for Joe Wrights. Now they've got the rookie Denzel Good playing the right tackle position, so they have had to make do with some major changes on this offensive line.
3rd and 3. Towels waving all over Heinz Field. And Hasselbeck fires, and that'll be caught by Griff Whalen. So he's short gain, but enough for a 1st down. That's Vince Williams covering on the play with 90 seconds to go in the quarter.
Yeah, Griff Whalen's one of those guys that you just don't think of as going to be a great player in this league. He was on the sort of the practice squad and working sort of the offense that worked against the first string defense, and he kept getting open, and finally some of the defensive guys said, you got to give him a chance over there on the offensive side, and what he does best is what he just did right there, convert first downs.
From the 37-yard line. In the final minute of the quarter, Hasselbeck able to extend the play, and then going to the ground is T.Y. Hilton at the 46-yard line, but it's incomplete. Second down and 10. T.Y. their top receiver.
Well, here's Denzel Good, who's basically came out of nowhere, going to work on another rookie up here, Bud Dupree, who has 4 sacks on the year. That's good enough, though. Anytime you basically are pulling somebody off the practice squad and making them a starter, you know you've had a lot of injuries on that offensive line. Anthony Costanzo, the guy that went down that caused the shuffle to happen.
On a delay with Gore just chugging his way. 8 1,000-yard seasons in San Francisco in his 10 years with the 49ers. And he comes over to become their #1 back. There's really nobody behind him right now. They picked up Boom Herron again. They lost Ahmad Bradshaw last week. He'd been the backup back. So Frank Gore at the age of 32 has to be a workhorse.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest change with Rob Chudzinski coming in as the offensive coordinator. They're going to stay with the running game even when it's not working. They can't put all the pressure on Matt Hasselbeck.
3rd and 2 in the waning seconds. That's Herron who goes in motion to the slot. Snap it at 1 on the clock and get it off, and Daniel Herron makes the catch. He'd been with them, and then he was with Buffalo, and he was released, and they brought him back as the backup to Gore. That's the end of the first quarter with the score: Pittsburgh 6, Indianapolis 3. And Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages.
Waiting all day for Sunday night.
And across the river to Heinz Field, home of the Steelers.
Downtown.
Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya, second quarter.
Yeah, downtown Pittsburgh's fun right now. All the decorations, little Christmas village out there, holiday village out there. It's all fun.
Always lead on a Steeler weekend. Everybody's got a jersey. First down for the Colts from the 48-yard line. And Hasselbeck is going to take off, but gets tackled at the 49. We have a flag. Haven't had an accepted penalty yet tonight. That's news these days.
Holding. Offense, number 76. 10-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
Joe Wright, the left tackle.
Yeah, and he was in good position, but then when Cam Thomas tried to react back up this way, when Hasselbeck stepped up, then Wrights grabbed him around that chest plate that we all use to hold on occasion. And got caught that time. Too much space to be seen.
First and 20.
Long A 9-4, long A 9-4.
And Gore, big hole. Frank Gore takes it out to the 50-yard line. So with the change of coordinators, Rob Chudzinski, who'd been the assistant head coach, there he is. He spent a year as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns a couple of seasons ago. He calls the plays, but then they're sent into the helmet of Hasselbeck by Clyde Christensen, who's the quarterback's coach, and he has to do a lot of interpretation.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing, but the offensive coordinator basically does not speak the language of this offense. He was brought in when Pep Hamilton was released.
So it's second down and 8, and they give it to Gore again. Nice run here. You mentioned it at the top. Boy, so much stuff going on in Indianapolis. First of all, they were expected to be a prime Super Bowl contender. Right now, they're just trying to get into the playoffs. But what was going on? You go back to, if you have a key moment in this season for them, week 3, they're 0-2. They're losing to Tennessee. Come from behind to win the game.
Chuck Pagano, what did he say? He said, I don't think they were going to fly me home on the plane. I think they were going 0-3 and everything was going wrong. Had a great goal line stand, made a couple of plays, ended up winning the game. And then Hasselbeck came in and sort of turned their season around.
Now you got the nose tackle, David Perry, rookie out of Stanford. He plays the fullback role, but Hasselbeck starts to fall down, as does Gore, and they stop him at the line of scrimmage. So Frank goes down, Hasselbeck goes down, everybody tripping everybody else. 4th down.
Yeah, you could see that Gore knew the hole was on the left side, and basically Hasselbeck was trying to jump out of his way. Gore was trying to make that cut even before he got there, and they just banged knees. You can see he wants to get there. That's where the hole is, but he bangs into Hasselbeck's knees and goes down.
Now Pat McAfee, who's averaging 49 yards per kick, but doesn't want to average 49 on this one. Couldn't anyway, because the line of scrimmage is the 43. So he will try to place it inside the 10. And that's exactly what he does. It's fair caught there by Jacoby Jones. Early in the second quarter, Steelers have the ball and the lead, 6-3 on Sunday Night Football. Ben Roethlisberger, 12 years in the league, and boy, he has taken his share of shots, sacked over 400 times, sustained a concussion last week, and go back to 06, motorcycle accident offseason, and a Week 7 game against the Falcons. Had a concussion in 2008, another one in 09, and then last week he took himself out of the game in Seattle at the end of the game and was diagnosed with a concussion and was cleared in midweek. And, of course, hasn't missed a game. But obviously a different situation now around the NFL. And Big Ben understanding you don't fool around anymore. Throwing deep downfield, and it's incomplete. Fatherhood would change it, too. And also, you know, he's a lot, I don't want to say smarter than he was, but clearly he's been around. He understands things, and he wasn't going to take any chances.
Yeah, and he said, I think you asked him, can you imagine pulling yourself out of a game 5 or 10 years ago? And he goes, it's tough. And he said a couple of his teammates even said to him, yeah, you're Ben Roethlisberger. You can afford to report on the sideline that you've had a concussion. Other people, there's still a little fear that you don't want to come off as not being the tough guy that's willing to play through everything. So some of those issues still exist. There's no question about it in the minds of some of the players.
On the ground and taken down behind the line of scrimmage. Good play there by DeQuell Jackson, the linebacker, stopping Williams. It's a loss of 3, 3rd and 13. And Pagano pointing to the official.
Well, Jackson going to come shooting up here through the hole there to make the play in the backfield. But, you know, to get back to, and there's DeQuell, no question the leader of this defense. He is the unquestioned quarterback and makes all the calls out there on the defensive side. Get a little movement there.
Pagano was actually pointing to Greg Minuski, the defensive coordinator, who wanted a different alignment in there.
Ball start. Offense, number 88. Half the distance to the goal. 3rd down.
So 3rd and even longer.
You know, but I think that what Ben Roethlisberger did this week, which is basically use what he did with the concussion as a bit of a platform, really moved the needle a little bit in this league to say that, hey, guys, that's the right thing to do. That is not something that is a sign of weakness, and we all need to do that.
3rd and 17. They get the ball into the hands of Brown. You can only get to the 9. You know, you look at Ben, you think he's indestructible because we have seen him take through the years some hellacious hits. And he's not indestructible, of course, because he's missed a lot of time through the years. But you watch him go down. I mean, this year, knee injury, it looked like maybe a season ender, then a foot injury. That looked like a season ender. But the one thing about him, he keeps on ticking, but he has only started and finished 3 games this season.
But you know the toughness of Ben Roethlisberger, so that when he reported the concussion, you know that you're not going to question his toughness ever.
Jordan Berry's kick, fair catch by Griff Whalen at the 46-yard line. Colts have it there, 10:54 to the half in a 3-point game.
You try to compare the two quarterbacks for the Indianapolis Colts, and the big difference is the fact that Matt Hasselbeck gets the ball out of his hands much faster. 6th fastest in the league compared to the 6th slowest for Andrew Luck, who's looking to make those big plays. So he's less inclined to get pressure. Teams don't want to pressure a quarterback that gets rid of it that quickly. But when he has been under pressure, here's the big numbers at the bottom that Matt Hasselbeck has delivered. So teams really don't want to blitz him because that's when he's making his best plays. Not necessarily tonight. Tonight, he struggled a bit.
4 out of 9 for 22 yards, 2 interceptions. And he starts on the plus side of the 50 here from the 46-yard line. This drive begins with a quick toss out to Andre Johnson. And Johnson to the 30-yard line. Picked him up in free agency. He's been playing a little less as we go down the stretch here. Gain of 16.
Well, here's a great answer for Hasselbeck. Here they're showing interior blitz. So you throw it out here. And what happens? Those guys that are bluffing that inside blitz can't get outside to help support. So you want to keep faking that blitz, take advantage of it.
Well, T.Y. Hilton's their number 1 guy. Moncrief has become a big guy of late. Fleener the tight end. So Andre Johnson playing just about half the snaps of late. Rolling on a lot more. Play clock at 3. And Matt is able to get it off, and then there's a flag, so maybe he was not able to. Yeah. Or timeout was called, one of the two.
Before the play clock ran to 0, there's a charged timeout. Indianapolis, it's their first. It's a 30-second timeout.
Well, let's take a look at some of this pressure. First of all, it was Jarvis Jones going to drop back underneath, and Hasselbeck never saw him on that, so they fake the blitz, fool him on that one, and then catch him with this blitz off the left side. He's looking right. They zone that off, make him pull it down, make him take an extra second, and the sack gets there from Will Allen. So Keith Butler has a good plan coming in. As a matter of fact, both these defenses, you have to say, have been brilliant because the field position has been awful. They've been trying to defend, certainly, for the Pittsburgh Steelers because of all the turnovers.
Some Hasselbeck with the wristband. Play is called in upstairs by Chudzinski. Interpreted by Clyde Christensen, who says sometimes he has to take Mandarin and make it Cantonese on the way to Hasselbeck. From the 30-yard line, first down. After the pump fake, going deep and free and making the catch, and out of bounds at the 1 is Andre Johnson. William Gay covering, threw it over him, and Johnson makes the catch, a gain of 28, first down and goal.
So many times these defensive backs want to try and jump that slant, and as soon as they do that, boy, you get yourself in trouble. Wasn't even much of a move. I think William Gay thought he knew exactly what was coming. Sometimes the quarterback, even without his hands on the laces of the football, just has to catch it and get it out of there.
Here's Gore. He runs into a wall. That is Harrison and Will Allen. So James Harrison, who actually retired a couple of years ago but came back 13th year in the league. Tremendous career.
Well, I tell you, when it comes to just blowing through people, James Harrison is still so tough. He's just a wall out there. One of the strongest guys playing in the National Football League.
Second and goal from the 4. Play clock at 2. And a whistle here. So they were able to get a timeout, but not this time.
Offense. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
They got the timeout barely before, but now that's going to make it second down and goal and back them up 5 yards.
Well, the one thing that Chuck Pagano has been able to avoid are those delay game penalties. Remember, for Rob Chudzinski and for Matt Hasselbeck, the Pep Hamilton offense, as they say, it's not our first language. So we're doing a lot of translating, and Andrew Luck, who grew up in that system at Stanford where Pep Hamilton was, is one of the guys on the sideline trying to translate for both of them.
Play clock at 2 again. Good protection, good coverage, and then finally finds Gore. Touchdown. Looking all over the field, protected well, found his man. Gore into the end zone to give the Colts the lead.
All the credit goes to the offensive line. The Steelers end up rushing just 3, and watch Hasselbeck. He is going to look at every receiver at least once, and I think come back to Gore for the touchdown. Look at him. He's looking all over the place, but that's what veteran quarterbacks know. You rush 3, I'm taking my time. I'm letting that zone defense break down. Great job by the guys up front. Just kept playing. They didn't give up on the play. Beautifully done.
Gore's 5th touchdown as a Colt, but the first as a pass receiver. And Vinatieri's kick makes it a 4-point game. So 8.5 minutes to play in the opening half in Pittsburgh, with the Colts up 10-6 on Sunday Night Football. The Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award, presented by Nationwide, recognizes both on-field contributions and significant community service. The Colts nominee, Dwayne Allen, participates in community events and mentors students one-on-one through Dream Alive. And the Steelers nominee, Cameron Hayward, established the Hayward House Foundation, focusing on children's outreach programs. The winner will be announced Super Bowl week. Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, of course, Cameron Hayward's dad was Ironhead Hayward, the great running back from the New Orleans Saints. The late Ironhead Hayward. It was a lot of fun to watch. Let's check in with Michelle.
Well, Al, I spent time with both Cam Hayward and Dwayne Allen this week. Hayward told me that after recently welcoming his first child, quote, "I want to make sure my son is molded by great heroes, and I want to be a hero to other people as well." As for Allen, he said, "I believe that in order for me to continue to serve and help this world become a better place, I have to equip our young leaders. I do what I do in the community because I have a heart for it." Sincere guys, Al.
Yep. Know them both, and very deserving, worthy of that award. Each team, of course, names a nominee. There's a nominee from all 32 teams, and during Super Bowl week, one man gets the accolade as Roethlisberger has the pass tipped at the line of scrimmage. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
I'll tell you, this has been some day by this Indianapolis Colts defense so far. Here's T.Y. McGill going to get his hand on this football, but this Steelers offense went up and down the field against the Seattle Seahawks that basically completely shut out the Minnesota Vikings today. One kickoff return, I think, at the end of the game, but I thought the Steelers would come out and move the ball pretty much at ease, but they have not.
That's a gain of 8 yards. Martavis Bryant makes the catch, and it will be 3rd down and 2.
One of the guys that has made a big difference on this defense on the outside, Robert Mathis, coming off of 10 different procedures that he had after Achilles surgery in a year and a half, and he said, "I'm a positive dude, but that was a long process I had to go through. It's hard to stay positive with all the different procedures I was having done." Can you imagine 10 procedures on your Achilles?
Yeah, he said 3 big ones and then 7 what he called cleanouts.
Not any of them.
3rd and 3. And that's caught, and that's Brown. He makes the catch, and his forward progress will give him the first down. Tackle there by Toller. The move to change halfway through the quarter.
You know, if Antonio Brown gets enough time to work, and they're really not trying to play him man-to-man coverage now. They're trying to sort of put multiple people over there on that side, and underneath, DeQuell Jackson is helping the cause as well.
Now quickly to the line, and D'Angelo Williams for a gain of a couple before he steps out of bounds at the Steeler bench.
But this is pretty atypical for the way the Colts defense typically plays. They want to play a lot of man coverage. They want Vontae Davis and Darius Butler and Greg Toller going one-on-one on the outside. And yet they've shown some of that tonight. Greg Minuski's defense has. And then they've usually dropped into something, some variation of that.
Steelers trying to pick up the pace, going without the huddle. And Ben will throw it down the sideline, leaping for it. Bryant breaks one tackle, not the second though, but a first down to the 40-yard line. Threw it over Toller. and has the ball at the Indianapolis 40-yard line after a 27-yard gain.
Give credit to Ben Roethlisberger. The first time they come out and play man-to-man coverage on Martavis Bryant on the outside with Greg Toller, he goes right to it and comes up with a big play. That's what I think Minuski has feared against this offense.
From the 41, there goes Williams trying to get to the outside, and he cannot. Gets taken down by number 51, C.O. Moore, picked up from Oakland at the beginning of the season.
Now, C.O. Moore was the third leading tackler for the Raiders, and they bring him over. Nate Irvin was with the Broncos, and so a couple of fill-ins tonight.
6 minutes left in the half. Colts up 10-6, second down and 10. Good clean pocket, fires to the sideline, caught. Antonio Brown out of bounds after another big gain. One of the best in the league. A lot of people think he is the best. 26-yard gain.
There's a zone defense. Antonio Brown on your left is just going to hit that gap in the hole. And that is a tough throw for Roethlisberger. You have to throw that very early to get that in before the boundary comes up. Perfectly done.
Gain of 26. Drive started back at the 20. They're at the 15 now. First down.
They have D'Angelo Williams out on a linebacker. C.O. Moore far to the left if he wants that.
Got him on the screen. He looks that way. He goes to him. He makes the catch, but then circles back and gets tackled. Forward progress to the 13-yard line. Gain of a couple. Jackson makes the stop. It'll be 2nd and 8.
Sort of like the NBA, isn't it? You get the matchup you want and you try to take advantage of it. Feel like your athlete's better than their athlete. You're going to make that throw. Not poorly played by C.O. Moore, though.
It's a matchup world.
It sure is.
2nd down and 8. At the 13-yard line.
Front pencil. Hey, 51's the mic. Lenny.
Keep it on the ground. Williams spinning. Nice move. Gets the ball all the way down to the 7-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down and 2.
Well, that is something, isn't it? To watch D'Angelo Williams, it really looked like David DeCastro was just stayed with it and fighting against Zach Kerr to hold that block, and he just spun his way right out of it.
They've done 73 yards, 9 plays. They almost jump offside. They didn't, but Brown makes the catch for the touchdown. Antonio Brown working on Davis. Wins the matchup. They go 80 yards in 10 plays. 3 runs, 7 passes to take the lead again.
Pro Bowler against Pro Bowler here, and Vontae Davis feels like he got pushed at the end of this. Little arms extended, but I think the officials have said tonight we're going to give you a little room. Went once the other way, and now it comes back to Antonio Brown's favor.
Now, this is something that Tomlin's been doing with regularity this season, going for 2 points and doing it often in the first half. And that will be the case here as they line up to try to make it 14-10. So from the 2-yard line, Brown comes in motion. And Ben on a roll. He's going to come back the other way. Flag is down for the moment. That is caught by Will Johnson, the fullback, pending the call from Torbert. 2 flags are down. One is at the 2-yard line, one at the goal line in the same area.
Holding. Defense, number 91. That penalty is declined. Try is good.
2-point conversion. You got Roethlisberger to Brown. Roethlisberger to Johnson for the conversion. 14-10. (14-10). Steelers on top. And there are 6 out of 7 2-point conversions in the first half this season. That was Dwayne Woodruff, former Steeler defensive back, in attendance here tonight. Now Hasselbeck starts this drive from his own 20, 4:04 left in the half. A little dump off to Gore. And Frank cutting back to the inside, gain of 7. We go to Michelle.
Well, you've seen Matt Hasselbeck looking at that wristband, and Al, the very first wristband appeared in an NFL game 50 years ago, 1965, when the Baltimore Colts lost quarterback Johnny Unitas and his backup to injury. Coach Don Shula turned to running back Tom Matte, and with no time for him to learn all the play calls, they made him that wristband. His wife's printing is on there because it was nice and neat. Shula has one of those original wristbands. The other one resides in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Al.
That is beautiful, Tom Matte. Boy, that's about as rudimentary as it gets. Now everything is high-tech, different colors. Gore picks up a couple here. It'll be 3rd down and 2.
You know, we talked about Chudzinski and all the different things he had to do learning this offense. But it is amazing. He was the special assistant to the head coach. So he worked with the offense, worked with the defense, worked with various people, but it wasn't necessarily in the game planning part of it. All of a sudden they came to him one day and said, we want you to be the offensive coordinator. And his first thought really was, I sure hope I can call a play. But when Pagano said it, he said, yes, sir, whatever you need me to do. And so far it's worked out, 3-0 since he took over.
Matty's looks like wet cardboard. 3rd and 2, and Hasselbeck just fires one over the middle and stops short of the first down. That is a great tackle as Colby Fleener gets taken down by Timmons into exactly where he was. Half a yard short of the first down, and a punt forthcoming.
Right there's the official sticks over here on this side. But for Lawrence Timmons, here he is, leads the team in tackles. He's the only defensive player in the NFL that has played every single snap, and the Steelers are glad he was in on that one. That was a big-time play.
Pat McAfee with that 49-yard average. Sammy Baugh still holds the record, over 50 per punt back a million years ago. 2-minute warning in Pittsburgh. Two minutes to the half. Pittsburgh on top 14-10, and they are about to get the ball back. McAfee is in to punt. Jacoby Jones with San Diego earlier this season fumbled the opening kickoff, but the favor was returned shortly thereafter on a Hasselbeck interception. So Jones is back as McAfee gets ready to launch one. And a fair catch is called for. It's a short McAfee kick, and then Jones loses it again. The ball is loose, still in play. And Pittsburgh is going to recover this time. So they bring Jones in from San Diego to run back kicks. I don't know how much longer that's going to last. But the Steelers are able to retain possession. Danny Smith is the special teams coach.
And I think he just got the word from Mike Tomlin, get him out of there. That's enough. This was one of those punts, Al, I knew it was going to be a problem. I returned punts in college, and when that thing goes up and it starts, the tip of it starts coming down, it almost starts moving away from you, and you get lost. You don't know what to do. You feel like this ball just is never going to come down. It's almost like a Frisbee. You know, when you throw it up and it comes down the other way, and Jacoby Jones just couldn't catch up to it.
38-yard kick. I think Tomlin may have told Danny Smith, take him to the airport.
Well, they wanted to take him to the airport a few times in this stadium. He is
right.
He has killed the Steelers over the years, and not helping them tonight either.
Yeah, when he was with the Ravens, Darius Hayward-Bay wound up recovering the ball. Retained possession is Roethlisberger now from the 40-yard line, facing a four-man rush, and the pass is incomplete. That's intended for Marcus Wheaton. Clayton Gathers covering, 2nd down and 10.
Well, one of the great stories in the league, Alejandro Villanueva, now the left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers for Kelvin Beachum. He has really worked at his craft trying to come out a war hero. He's a guy that ran into battle, guns blazing, and rescued a down man when he was an Army Ranger. Pretty remarkable young man.
6'9" and 320 is Villanueva. Wide open is Williams, and gets by Gathers and should have the first down and does at the 50-yard line. Tackled there by Toller. Minute and a half, clock ticking down. Pittsburgh has all of its timeouts.
That's what Williams did last week against Seattle. He just kept making plays, little check down passes that he kept turning into first downs. That was a tremendous effort.
Roethlisberger now 14 of 21 for 155 yards. Deep drop, clean pocket, caught, 32-yard line. Another first down. That is Marcus Wheaton. And a timeout is taken here by Pittsburgh. Now Roethlisberger after the timeout, firing, caught, 15-yard line. Antonio Brown, he will take it to the 10-yard line. Tackle there by Toller. And a flag. Pittsburgh was ready to take a timeout, but you got a flag first. All the way back up at the 41-yard line. Ron Torbert to make the call here.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Offense, number 78. 15-yard penalty. Replay first down.
That is Villanueva. Goes me?
I didn't see it. I saw D'Angelo Williams with a help.
4 seconds, please. 54.
He meant 73, I think.
Yeah, there's Foster on the inside. Certainly Villanueva didn't do anything.
No.
Pittsburgh is not charged with a timeout. The clock stopped because of the foul.
There's Cody Wallace jumping on at the end of that play. I think it was 72. And Cody Wallace has a little bit of that reputation. It's one of the things, to be perfectly frank, that the Steelers love about him is that he goes beyond the whistle sometimes and brings a little of that nasty attitude. That nasty attitude just cost them about 40 yards.
Well, they've lost Pouncey for the whole season, so it's been Wallace, 6-year guy out of Texas A&M. That cost them a big game, makes it 1st and 25, and they did take a timeout, so they get that back. They have 2.
Lack of pressure really becoming a problem for the Colts right now, though.
Good pocket again. Little dart over the middle. Williams, good gain all the way down to the 32. He goes. It'll be 2nd down and 10. Ben conserving the timeouts as he comes up to the line here on a 2nd and 10. That last play gained 15 yards. Then a 4-man rush. He steps up. He fires over the middle. Caught. And setting up a 1st and goal is Marcus Wheaton. And they will take a timeout here. 1st and goal from the 5. So Ben Roethlisberger started slowly, but he has 215 yards passing. 4 straight games now over 200 in the first half. And this is a 1st down and goal now from the 5. Great protection again. And that pass is incomplete, intended for Martavis Bryant in the end zone. You got Toller covering on the play, and you have 19 seconds with a 2nd down and goal.
Maybe Jerry Rice catches this ball, but this thing was a rocket shot out here to Bryant. He really leaned into that one, little behind and a little too hard a throw for Martavis Bryant. Well, Martavis Bryant, what is he? He had 13 touchdowns in his first 16 games as a pro. Puts him in some pretty elite company.
2nd and goal. Bryant sets up on the right side this time. Just a 3-man rush. Whoops. Tip and incomplete. So 3 rush, 8 back, intended for Williams. 14 seconds, and they have 1 timeout, 3rd and goal.
Boy, Ben just never saw C.O. Moore there, who dropped right underneath that little dart route.
3rd and goal from the 5.
Williams is going to go out and back, and he just doesn't see the linebacker dropping underneath that. It almost threw a touchdown the other way.
So you got Brown lining up in the backfield. He'll go in motion, come out of the slot to the right side. And Roethlisberger will throw to the corner of the end zone, and it will be caught for a touchdown by Marcus Wheaton. Perfect throw. Wheaton got position. Ben puts it right in there, and a touchdown to make it 20-10.
There was a little conversation going on right here, and you could see Toller looking back late, but really that coverage was just about as good as you can get. And right now there is getting to be a little magic between Ben Roethlisberger and Marcus Wheaton. He had the 200-yard game against Seattle and comes back with another touchdown here.
Well, he benefits so much from the fact that, you know, Brown often draws double coverage. He's got Bryant as well. You get the tight ends. Normally it's Miller. Tonight it's James. And it opens it up for Wheaton. Extra point by Boswell is good. And with 10 seconds to play in the half, the Steelers have extended their lead to 21-10.
Well, they got knocked back. Here was the big play right here, going to go shuffle and then into the post. And just as Ben Roethlisberger throws the ball, he gets hit. Amazing timing. You see the tail end of that thing, but he threw that really before Wheaton came out of the break, and he got his arm hit in the process. Just sort of dropped it in just over the outstretched arms of Darius Butler. This guy makes a lot of very difficult throws in traffic.
Well, Roethlisberger and Dan Fouts now, the two guys, 4-game streak of 200 or more passing yards in the first half. Air Coryell in San Diego in 1981. The great Fauci.
Yeah, I think Eli went by him today. He was like 11th on the list, something like that.
Yep.
What a great sense of humor that guy has.
Fantastic.
I played in the Pro Bowl with him one time, and I don't think I ever laughed as much anywhere as I did in the huddle when he was calling the plays.
Well, I spent 2 years in the Monday night booth with him. I mean, Dennis Miller was funny, but Fouts was right there with him.
I'm with you.
Here's a ground ball picked up at the 32-yard line. Trying to get down and stop the clock is Anderson with 6 seconds. And Colt Anderson is there to put on the ground high above Heinz Field. Hasselbeck will take a knee, and that's going to take us to halftime. Colts will get the ball when we start the second half. Well, Indianapolis had a 10-6 lead, but that went away. 15 unanswered points by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's halftime with the score: Pittsburgh 21 and Indianapolis 10.
The reason the score is what it is because Matt Hasselbeck and the Colts could not take advantage of those early turnovers. They got the ball twice inside the 25-yard line, got 3 points out of it. You can't come into this building and not take advantage of big mistakes like that.
Wasted opportunities, and they had plenty in the first half. Down by 11 now. Indianapolis will get the ball. Winner of this game goes to 7-5. The loser goes to 6-6. The one thing about the Colts, they still have a chance to win their division. Pittsburgh really doesn't. I mean, Cincinnati is way out in front. So the Steelers will be looking at a wild card at best. Indy, though, could be looking at winning the division, which would mean at least one home game in the wild card round. Second half underway with a touchback. And we go to Michelle.
Well, after mishandling 2 kick returns in the first half, Jacoby Jones is, quote, done, according to Mike Tomlin. He just told me that at halftime, and he said any of their shortcomings in the first half had to do with poor field position. Conversely, Chuck Pagano told me they couldn't take advantage of the field position they were given. Just as you were talking about, Chris, he was frustrated with that about his offense, hoping to do better here in the second half.
Yep, they have to cash in, and down by 11 with alacrity. Third quarter underway now. Average drive start, as you can see right there. That's the field position that Tomlin was referring to. Indy has started basically near midfield on every drive, and they start with a low pass for Gore that is incomplete. Second down and 10.
Yeah, fired. I sort of laughed when Matt Hasselbeck said it, but it's really true. It doesn't matter who's coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers. They run the same blitzes. They run the same defense. There was that classic Pittsburgh Steelers cross linebacker blitz inside. They knew exactly what the check down was going to be, and James Harrison was right underneath that.
4 down, 9-4. Oh.
Hasselbeck 9 of 15 for 82 yards. Give it to Gore. Frank takes the ball to the 23, and that will make it 3rd down and 7.
Yeah, we talked about Ben Roethlisberger coming back from a concussion. Ryan Shazier did as well. And there's been some heat on him about missing a lot of games early in his career. Very, very athletic guy, can run, can cover, can make spectacular plays in the backfield. The only knock on him is he's been out of a lot of practice and a lot of games, and I think he felt a little pressure to get out there.
Always high expectations when you're a team's #1 pick, as he was out of Ohio State. Hasselbeck escaping, throwing, and that's almost picked off and incomplete. Intended for Griff Whalen. You had Boykin, who already has 1 interception tonight, covering, so a very rapid 50-second 3 and out.
Yeah, this has been a nice night here. Brandon Boykin really has sort of been the forgotten guy, and because of some issues they had in coverage with Ross Cockrell and Antoine Blake and missing tackles and all that sort of thing a week ago, he's starting to get a chance, and he's made plays.
So you've got Brown back to receive the kick now that Jones is done for the night. And McAfee's boot, sky high, fielded at the 22. And Brown will try to get around the corner, but can't. Forced out of bounds at the 25-yard line. A minute into the 3rd quarter with the Steelers up by 11.
Good matchup tonight between Alejandro Villanueva, the war hero, against Robert Mathis, one of the great pass rushers in the history of the game. Villanueva out 6'7" of him against 6-foot-tall Mathis, and that time it was Villanueva. Pretty good kick step coming out, light on his feet for a guy 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", whatever he is. He's a lot bigger than Robert Mathis is. And Mathis told us last night, he said, if he gets those long arms on me, it's over. I've got to turn it into a speed game, not a power game against him.
Mathis looks like Muggsy Bogues against Bill Russell. From the 25-yard line, 1st down. And that's a short gain up to the 28-yard line. Talking about Villanueva and the fact that went to Army, served 3 tours in Afghanistan. Bronze Star Medal for valor, Bronze Star Medal for overseas service. So the guy who played at West Point, represented his country, and winds up a guy who comes to camp and they weren't sure he was going to necessarily win the job, but here he is as the starting left tackle in December. And this is Williams trying to bounce his way forward. He gets to the 31-yard line. It's going to make it 3rd down and 4.
Villanueva, a Ranger. I mean, can you imagine him jumping out of an airplane and coming down? And I think I'd surrender before you hit the ground. And he was in a tough spot. 5 of his guys got ambushed, and 3 of them shot, and 1 of them left out in the compound with fire going on. And he was the leader of the group, ran back out there, and all that gunfire grabbed his guy, no man left behind, and pulled him out of harm's way. Big hero.
NFL's easy pickings for a guy like that. Down the sideline, getting free, Martavis Bryant, and he will go all the way to the end zone. Greg Toller gets beat. Hasselbeck can only readjust his hat on the sideline because he's watched his team now go down by 3 scores.
I don't know what you do against this guy. I'm telling you, physically, he's as talented as anybody playing in football right now. And Greg Toller just got a lesson. He's 6'4". He runs about a 4.3. Seems like every time we do a game, he scores a touchdown or 2. He's already caught a long one tonight, and there he goes again. He is a freakish athlete.
3 catches, 101 yards for him. Steelers have now scored touchdowns on their last 3 possessions. Boswell for the extra point, and that's 22 unanswered points for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Roethlisberger, 3 touchdowns and already 291 yards. 28-10. Martavis Bryant into the end zone for the second time as Ben Roethlisberger with 3 touchdowns tonight, and that secondary of the Indianapolis Colts torched on the last 3 possessions. That's a line drive fielded at the 17-yard line and brought back to the 32-yard line. And that's where they will start their drive as Ben Roethlisberger, almost a fifth of his passes, at least 20 yards downfield. They have 17 completions of 40 or more yards, 13 carries of 20 or more. It's a big play offense. Yards per play is tops in the NFL.
I mean, they play like the old time football quarterbacks used to play. And why throw it short when you can throw it all the way down there and score touchdowns? And the weapons he has to work with right now are frightening. I mean, they went across the board and everybody has been involved.
And Hasselbeck throwing, and that will be caught along the sideline. The Steelers say no, but the official comes in and says yes. T.Y. Hilton has been pretty quiet tonight, makes the catch at the 49 of Pittsburgh.
T.Y. Hilton out here going to give it a little wiggle over Blake and come up with a play. Kind of interesting, wasn't it, that T.Y. Hilton and Antonio Brown played Pee-wee football together in Miami. How about that team?
Liberty City. Crowd wanted a challenge, but it was not challenged. As Allen, the tight end, makes the catch, takes the ball to the 44-yard line.
Well, it was T.Y. Hilton's dad that coached both of them. Let's take a look, see if he got his feet down. Yeah, I thought he did.
Yeah, that right foot was on the ground before he steps out, had control. Crowd saw it otherwise, but Tomlin got the word from up top he wouldn't win the challenge. 2nd down and 4 from the 43. Gore runs into traffic for no gain. 3rd down.
But that is the difference. Chuck Pagano telling us there were times when they would go 18, 20 plays in a row, all passes. Said you can't do that to a defense. You just have to pound it up in there occasionally, even when if it doesn't work. You got to do that. And he's been right. They've been able to go to play action even when they haven't been that successful running the football. It's been a good formula.
That was the case last week. They averaged only a yard per carry. But Hasselbeck with 17 play action passes. Tonight a different story. 3rd and 4. And that's knocked away at the line of scrimmage. So the Steelers bat that one away. Hasselbeck also pays the price. So he is down. Luck is inactive tonight. So Charlie Whitehurst, who was recently picked up, is their backup quarterback.
Well, you saw the 2 plays there. It was Arthur Moats who was knocking the pass down, but then I think it was Cameron Hayward that basically took his guy right back in to Matt Hasselbeck. And there's Charlie Whitehurst warming up on the sideline.
Jonathan Harrison was the guy who got pushed back into him, so Matt able to get up and walk off as Whitehurst warms up. And well, we talked about Andrew Luck, and there he is. And question is, when will he be ready? Michelle talking about in a couple of weeks. Next week Colts will go to Jacksonville, and then they have a big one against Houston, because if they lose tonight they will have the same record as the Texans, and that game will mean a lot, even though at the moment the Colts would have the tiebreaker by virtue of their win in Houston earlier in the season. So McAfee, whose last punt was 55 yards, and it looked like it was 55 yards in the air as well. This one will try to deaden inside the 10 if he can. Puts a little backspin on it, and the Colts are able to cover the ball. Colt Anderson does inside the 10-yard line. 10:55 remaining in the 3rd as they check on Hasselbeck. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoyas. Sunday Night Football early in the 3rd as Roethlisberger scrambles away and may have had his arm hit as well by Vontae Davis. It'll be 2nd down and 10. Well, Ben's enjoyed some banner days and nights against the Colts. 522 through the air, 6 touchdowns last year. Tonight 3 touchdowns, so 9 touchdowns, no interceptions in his last 2 games against Indianapolis.
And the problem is that the receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers are better than the man coverage guys of the Colts, and so they're forced out of that man coverage, and they're in a little bit of a guessing game what to do now.
Williams. You know, of course, you think about the Steelers through the years, and everybody thinks about defense, the Steel Curtain and Ham and Lambert and Mean Joe Green and all those guys. But even when they were winning those 4 Super Bowl titles in the 70s, you forget Bradshaw, Swan, Stallworth, Franco Harris. They weren't too bad either.
I remember them all. We got beaten regularly by those guys. But it really was something. But, you know, even Mike Tomlin was talking about towards the end, it was really the offense as much as it was the Steel Curtain that was winning those last couple of championships for them. In the 70s.
Yep. 3rd and 4. And Ben's going to get taken down and twisted back. A flag is down. It was Trent Cole who came over after a stellar career in Philadelphia over a 10-year period. Ron Torbert will make the call as Ben has to flex that leg.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that matters to anybody in this stadium right now is Ben flexing that leg. Of course, missed, what, 3 or 4 games with that MCL injury?
4, and then that foot injury. And came off.
Holding. Defense number 21. 5-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
So instead of a punt, penalty on Davis and a 1st down.
Well, you try to match up the best you can. Antonio Brown obviously has been the dominant receiver in football. A little, maybe even a nudge on the face mask there, but grabs the back and holds, and a lot of that stuff goes on, but it's going to negate that sack, and that grimace was the most frightening thing that's happened to Pittsburgh fans tonight.
Roethlisberger from the 20. D'Angelo Williams out to the 22-yard line.
You ever hear the quarterback go easy, easy? I know we're not supposed to listen and talk about it, but that's not that big a deal. Everybody says that. Basically, what you're afraid of as a quarterback, if you get up and go and start screaming the audible, if it's on the 1st sound, your linemen are going to jump, right? So what do? You go up to the line of scrimmage and you whisper it almost. You go, easy, 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 guy. Like, don't jump. I'm getting ready to say something else here.
Easy to do at home.
Yeah.
Set. Blue 80. Blue 8.
2nd and 8.
Whoa.
Williams around the corner. 1st down. Bunch more to the 39-yard line. Follow David DeCastro into the open field for a gain of 16 yards.
Boy, there's nothing better as a running back. When you end up one-on-one with a safety coming down at you, this is where you earn your money. All right. Nobody blocked him. Can you beat him? You bet he can. I tell you, D'Angelo Williams has been getting it done. And they're on the outside. David DeCastro coming around and making the play. He's probably the best puller they've had here maybe since Alan Faneca, somebody like that.
He was the #1 draft choice. DeCastro was from Stanford in 2012.
Whoa.
Williams again. And it's a gain of 14. D'Angelo Williams looking like anything but a 32-year-old running back.
Oh, baby, look at these cuts. This is fun. Look at it from the safety position. You don't even see him. He makes 2 or 3 just full speed cuts, and all of a sudden he's 15 yards down the field. Where would they be this season without D'Angelo Williams? The knock was that he couldn't stay healthy anymore, and he's been nothing but this year.
And Le'Veon Bell gone for the season. They had to go into the playoffs last year without Bell, so they had a short deck against Baltimore and lost in the wild card game. And now Ben's going to air it out again, and it's incomplete, intended for Brown. And we go to Michelle.
Well, Al, I asked D'Angelo Williams about his productivity this season. He said, whoever said you can't teach an old dog new tricks was never an old dog. His new trick is not trying to hit a home run in every at-bat. You know, splitting carries at Carolina left him feeling like he was on a pitch count, not knowing when his next chance would come. And he said, now I have leeway to take chances. I don't have to swing for the fences every time.
Yeah, he was part of that two-headed running back situation with Jonathan Stewart, who's still there in Carolina. By the way, how's he doing in that team? 12-0.
That was some game today. Boy, that was back and forth all day.
And here he goes again. And Williams with 3 successive first downs on 3 carries as we get to the halfway mark of the third quarter. And Williams on his way to a 100-yard night. He has 87 yards.
Well, this time Robert Mathis going to take a shot at him and unable to make that play. But he made a comment that it took me a little while to kind of figure out. He said, you know, I quit running with my head and I just started running with my feet. In other words, don't think so much. Your feet will get you to the right thing. They know how to react to somebody coming after you. And boy, his feet are thinking pretty well right now.
They give him a rest and they give it to Fitzgerald Toussaint, who picks up 7 yards. So the backup back in for the first time, second-year player from Michigan, picking up 7 yards. And we have an injured Colt, and that is the linebacker Nate Irving. Injury timeout. So second down and 3 after Irving goes to the bench, shaken up on the last play. This is Williams tackled for no gain, third down.
Well, Zach Kerr finally got in the backfield and made a play for somebody out there. But I'll tell you, the Pittsburgh Steelers look pretty formidable to me, don't they, you? I mean, this is a team you anticipate their defense is going to get it eventually. You know, there are too many talented first-round guys over there. And this offense is really second to none. I mean, they can play with anybody in football. Nobody wants to see this team show up in the first-round wild card, even in their building.
And Ben, and that's incomplete. Martavis Bryant going down the sideline. Butler with him step for step. It's fourth down.
And here's what happens when you run the football as effectively as they've been running it. Now the Colts have no choice. They have to go back to the man coverage. And now you've got Darius Butler one-on-one against Martavis Bryant. And that's a matchup, if you're Greg Minuski, you want no part of. Nobody wants to see that matchup. But you know they've been running at about 8 yards a clip, so you've got to try and do something to stop that first.
Chris Boswell, this will be a 47-yard attempt. The punter Jordan Berry to put it down. And Boswell's kick this time is wide to the right. 6:08 remaining in the third quarter, but the Pittsburgh lead is still substantial, 28-10. So Hasselbeck shaken up the last time, back in here, fires over the middle. And a gain of about 6 yards to Fleener. It'll be second down and 4. There are your Clareton Bears before the game.
Aren't many teams that have more trophies than the Pittsburgh Steelers, but
pretty
apparently
good.
There's one.
8 out of 10. A thrill for those kids getting to play big time stadium, Heinz Field. Second down and 4 here. Little dump off to Gore, slips the tackle, picks up a first down, and Frank Gore inside the 30 to the 22-yard line. Goes a long time. San Francisco 49er finally chased down by Cam Hayward. That's a gain of 35.
This is just some effort. And how about the effort by Cam Hayward to chase it down the other way? He actually touches Matt Hasselbeck, comes all the way back down the field, and ends up being the guy that makes the tackle. That's unbelievable. Great run by Gore.
Gore's already scored tonight on a pass reception. Hasselbeck fires to the outside. Hilton's forced out of bounds after a short gain by Ross Cockrell, and we go to Michelle.
Well, you talked about Matt Hasselbeck getting shook up after that last drive. He was given a full neck evaluation. They tested the strength of his arms. They tested the range of motion. and the athletic trainers applied a heating cream to his neck and upper spine. That to keep those muscles around his neck loose, Al, as he tries to come out here and play without any pain.
We used to call that the witch doctor stuff. It's like, here, let me rub a little bit of this. Oh, you'll be fine now. Get your butt back out there.
No problem. 2nd and 3. Hasselbeck fires into traffic. Great coverage there. Fleener was the intended receiver. Arthur Moats came in and sent Hasselbeck to the grass, and it's 3rd down and 3.
You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the top, 5 or 6 teams, something like that, in sacks, but nobody really with a lot of sacks. They've got a lot of people that have a few. Cameron Hayward leads the way, and Stephon Tuitt and Bud Dupree, but nobody really has a ton. And for Matt Hasselbeck and his sore neck, you don't want too many of those.
Pittsburgh 1 sack tonight. 3rd down and 3 now. Play clock at 2.
Roger.
Oh boy.
And again, delay a game. So instead of a 3rd and 3, you go to 3rd down and 8.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
And Hasselbeck saying it's completely my fault. You know, when you get up there and that defense flashes in the A gap, you know, you have to make some adjustments. You have to tell your linemen, especially because they've been completely reshuffled. Remember, the Indianapolis Colts, they don't have a single offensive lineman playing in the position they played on opening day. So everybody is still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. New offensive coordinator, new quarterback, and we've seen the effects of it a little bit tonight.
3rd and 8. And Hasselbeck is going to shovel it. And a yard short of the 1st down. The pass is taken there by Zerlon Tipton. So 4th down, they're down by 18 points. Time to go for it.
There we go. You see Hasselbeck. He's getting a number. He said, I hate not looking up in the eyes of my guys in the huddle, but all I know is what's on that card. So I have to look down, and he has called a few wrong plays this year, too.
4th and a long 1. Again, that play clock ticking down to 2 to 1. Hasselbeck extending the play. Still staying in bounds, throwing into double coverage and incomplete. They turn the ball over on downs. Whalen covered, Cockrell back there, and Pittsburgh will take over with 3.5 to go in the 3rd.
Oh, you remember when Aaron Rodgers threw the Microsoft tablet earlier this year? I think you're going to see Hasselbeck do the same thing. He's going to have a couple of guys wide open on the left side, and he scrambles out and just had nowhere to go with the football. Gore was all by himself in the left flat, and there really wasn't the kind of pressure that forced him out. Could have had it.
So the lead stays at 18, and the Steelers will take over at their own 15-yard line. Steelers almost a 2-to-1 advantage in yardage tonight. Gain of 3. Pittsburgh is not the Colts' favorite place. The Colts won in Pittsburgh in '68 when they were the Baltimore Colts. They won 41-7 with Unitas, and Tony Dungy led them to a win in '08 with Peyton Manning. And that's been it. So they are 2-10 are the Colts. Baltimore and Indy both, and 0-3 in postseason. 2nd down and 7 at the 18-yard line. And Roethlisberger is going to fire down the left side and incomplete. It's funny how in a couple of weeks how crazy the AFC is right now. Look like Patriots are going for an unbeaten season. Now they're in a position where they might not even get a bye. You've got Denver and Cincinnati are 10-2 as well. Denver's already beaten them. And now you got Denver and Cincinnati playing on a Monday night in a couple of weeks. Wild times in the AFC.
Yeah, and New England has to be sick after that one today. You don't see them get beat on special teams and big plays like they did today very often.
Philadelphia goes in after playing that horrific game against Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, and they shocked the Patriots. We'll see the Patriots next week on Sunday night in Houston. Roethlisberger is going to take off, and there goes Ben, and he's going to go head first to the 31-yard line.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard 70,000 people yell "get down" at the same time.
And they meant feet first, too.
Yeah, well, nice job again by D'Angelo Williams coming across and picking up the blitz by Clayton Gathers. And Ben just sort of hustles his way out. Now, he's not going to run all the time anymore, but third down, why not? Let's go pick it up.
His longest rush of the year, 13 yards. Ball at the 31-yard line. Steelers have now gained 400 yards with a quarter and a couple of minutes to go. And they'll enter that total here with Williams picking up a couple. Playoff picture. Now you get Cincinnati winning today, Denver winning today, New England losing today. All 10-2. Now in the South, either Indianapolis or Houston figures to come out with the winning the division, which would make them a wild card host, and that's all. So they still have a shot to win the division. Very little chance, I would think, for a wild card to come out of the South. Kansas City and the Jets. The Jets with a big win today. At the moment, if the season stopped on a dime tonight, they would be in the playoffs. And Williams. A little short of the first down, third down.
The ball was a little loose on the tail end of that thing.
So his teammate come in there and make sure it was oh yeah, it was coming out.
I don't know about that.
He got it back.
Right back to him.
3rd and inches. Final minute of the quarter. Beautiful. Does he look like he's 32?
Oh, not at all. I mean, it just, those little lateral jump cuts, it's a patience. You know, we talk about Le'Veon Bell and his ability to do this. On 3rd and 1, you typically think, well, just smash it up in there. He is just seeing everything. You know, they talk about running backs and their vision and what they can do. You know, I think sometimes the more carries that they get, the slower the game looks to them, and the vision really starts to come into play.
He comes out, he has 103 yards, D'Angelo Williams, on 20 carries, so he's averaging more than 5 yards per carry. And Roethlisberger with a patented shoulder shake for Brown, going deep, and Brown makes the catch to set up a first down and goal. You know, you think you have him covered, and then you don't.
Wow. Wow.
48 yards to end the 3rd quarter. 28-10 as we go to the 4th. Sunday Night Football from Pittsburgh. Back after these messages. $450 or more yards in each of the last 4 games. That ties the longest streak in NFL history for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who tonight have a 300-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher, and 200-yard receivers. Here's your last play of the 3rd quarter.
Right through the double team, and that's how much confidence Ben Roethlisberger has in that freakish athlete, Antonio Brown, who has been putting up numbers for the last 3 or 4 years. And that smile tells it all. He is always in that kind of mood. Just a joy to be around, and he gets it from his grandmother.
4th quarter, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle DeFoya in Pittsburgh. 28-10, 1st and goal. And they give the ball to Williams, who's into triple figures tonight. He takes it to the 5. It'll be 2nd down and goal. A little pushy shovey after the play. Antonio Brown. I mean, he had a day of days against Oakland earlier this year. He had 17 catches, 284 yards against the Raiders in Week 8. Franchise records all in 2014, 129 catches. Got shut down by Richard Sherman last week, but Mr. Wheaton had a big day. You can see he was able to roam free for over 200 yards. And now Ben throws high. Flag is thrown, though, in the end zone. Ben trying to shake out the arm. Is that a catchable ball, number 1?
I don't think it would apply to the hole.
Right.
It was on the other side. I don't think the
flag
was
thrown there. There was no foul for
there.
defensive holding. The ball was in the air. It's an incomplete pass. 3rd down.
Okay.
You know, but you brought up the days that Marcus Wheat and Martavis Bryant have had, and think of what that does for Antonio Brown. You know, all of a sudden now, if they can't double team Antonio Brown every play, he may go crazy. He already was the player of the month in the past week, but which one would you fear the most at this point? Martavis Bryant's a guy I wouldn't want to cover one-on-one. Marcus Wheaton's proven can't cover him one-on-one. And they're pretty good coming out of the backfield with D'Angelo Williams, too.
Well, there they are. Pick your poison. 3rd and goal. And Ben throws, and that's caught. Brown, touchdown. And there are games like this, they just look completely unstoppable.
We've seen it before, haven't we? We've seen it against this team before. You go up and just push a little bit and come back underneath, and I don't know how you stop this. This is like a basketball rebound position, right? Once you get that inside position, there's really nothing you could do. It's really fun to watch when a passing game comes together like what this team can do. If their defense ends up just being okay the rest of the way, it's tough to handle.
And he's working against one of the best corners in the league as well. Boswell for the extra point. Early in the 4th, 35-10 Pittsburgh. Run back from the yard in. Quan Bray. And only the kicker is there, and he's able to bring him down.
Fumbled
but
it.
Then the ball comes loose. Looks to be on the sideline, and a flag comes in as well. So the ball was out. You had a 59-yard kickoff return. You had Boswell making the tackle. That's always a dicey thing. That's how they lost Sean Sweezum in the Hall of Fame game back in
Did he
August.
grab like the underneath the helmet on the back? He like reached over top of his helmet.
Personal foul. Face mask. Grasping the back of the helmet opening by the kicking team.
Well,
15-yard penalty added to the end of the run. 1st down. Timeout.
but may have saved a touchdown. All right, back after this. Everybody enjoying the game, the home crowd anyway, 35-10. As Indianapolis takes over. Nice little hole there for Gore to exploit. Down to the 21-yard line he goes. 2nd down.
I tell you, I think the strategy employed by the Steelers on defense is working, though. They wanted to take some snaps off of Antoine Blake and Ross Cockrell. Thought they had some fatigue mistakes, Keith Butler and his defensive mates did. They've been working in Brandon Boykin a little bit more. They've looked a little fresher, played a little better. And I haven't seen Mike Mitchell make but one tackle tonight. And last week, there were a whole bunch of plays that made it all the way to the free safety.
Getting nice pressure on Hasselbeck most of the night. And that's caught for a 1st down by Colby Fleener. Inside the 15-yard line.
But there's really no doubt that this Steelers defense is built around their front 7, and they really need to dominate up there. They rotate a lot of these outside linebackers. Jarvis Jones, James Harrison, Bud Dupree, the rookie, Arthur Motes, all get a lot of playing time. So the good news is they should be fresh and ready to come after the quarterback at this late moment in the game.
Hasselbeck, he's going to get sacked. Ball is out. 22-yard line. Harrison is there. Sack is made. Strip and the recovery.
exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, right
Keeping
there.
James Harrison, and what is he, 37 years old?
Right. Vince Williams comes away
fresh.
with the ball.
Gotcha.
Harrison. He's done that a few times in his career. And another big night for Brown, for Bryant, for Roethlisberger, D'Angelo Williams.
I thought after Richard Sherman got him last week, Antonio Brown might bring his A game tonight, and he did. Vontae Davis didn't give up a touchdown pass all of last season. Tell you how good he is. He went to the Pro Bowl. But Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger tonight working their magic. Little double move there, and Ben just threw it right over the top of everybody. And Brown did what he's done all year long, come down with the play. It has been in every shape, fashion, and form tonight. He has won the battle.
2nd and 8. They can work on the clock. And Williams turns a small loss into a small gain. So let's go back and take a look at what Sherman did last week in Seattle to Brown.
Yeah, matchup between two great players, and Antonio Brown had a few moments, but for the most part, I think it was Richard Sherman's day. And of course, they had another pretty good day today as well. Tonight against Vontae Davis, a little better result there.
Overall, 7 catches for Brown for 111 yards, 2 TDs. 3rd down and 6. And Ben gets it away under pressure, completes it for the 1st down, and that is Martavis Bryant making the catch. Pressure put on that time on the corner blitz by Darius Butler. But Ben just stood in there and threw a strike.
He did, but he knew Butler had him dead to rights coming off the edge. He flinched a little bit and still threw about 90-mile-an-hour fastball, even flinching away. Good luck. Somebody's going to try and find a way to cover these guys. Even Seattle with their great defense, they struggled against them.
Blue 30. Blue 37.
Williams, heavy workload tonight. 24th carry of the night. You know, Chris, we're talking about the 350, 450-yard gains that Pittsburgh's had in 4 straight games. You forget for a second. There's a guy named Le'Veon Bell who's probably one of the 3 or 4 best backs in the league, and he's gone.
And 2 of their starting offensive linemen, including Pouncey and Beecham over there, their left tackle, and it just keeps rolling along. You know, Ben Roethlisberger, I know, gets a lot of credit. I'm not so sure he's not better than what he gets. I mean, this guy really has been able to carry this football team for a long time, and he is a rock in that pocket.
And that's Brown, 48-yard line. No Heath Miller tonight. There he is. Rarely misses a game. Heath has been in the league for 11 years and has only missed 7 or 8 games during that course of time. Hopes to be back next week.
I'll tell you what impressed me too is Robert Mathis said, I'll tell you one thing about Ben, he doesn't get enough credit for his intellectual approach to the game. I can't tell you how many times I thought we had the perfect defense called, and he's audibling out of the play and beating what I thought was the perfect defense. Happens all the time.
No gain there. Ben, one of that great class of 04 with Eli Manning getting drafted #1. And then Phillip Rivers getting drafted as well, and they wound up getting traded for each other. And then Ben in the middle of that 1st round coming to Pittsburgh, and he's been to 3 Super Bowls and won 2 of them.
Yep, all 3 of them have been great players. I don't think there's any question about that. But if you redrafted, I would take Ben. Who would you take?
It's very interesting. You know what? Let me think about that for a second.
Okay, hesitant. I like it.
I'm coming your way. You know, you think about Eli's 2 Super Bowls. Yep. Ben's got 2. D'Angelo Williams, what a night for him. To the 30-yard line he goes. Tackled by Adams. All right, I'm taking Ben too.
Great moves and great job up front. David DeCastro, Marcus Gilbert. But I tell you, it has been tough to get a hand on DeAngelo Williams tonight. I told you at the beginning of the night, I thought that what he did last week against Seattle was as impressive as anything I've seen all year. And a lot of it had to do with the way he helped these tackles with those chip blocks. He knocked some people on their tails. Michael Bennett got knocked down by a chip block from DeAngelo Williams.
It's a 3-yard gain here for Fitzgerald Toussaint. And that'll make it second down and about 7. The NFC picture, Carolina wins again. They are 12-0, knock off New Orleans. Arizona wins today, 10-2. You know what Green Bay did on Thursday night against Detroit to go to 8-4. So they own the tiebreak over Minnesota in that division. Washington meets Dallas tomorrow night. Who knows? If Dallas wins that game tomorrow night, you got Washington, Philadelphia, and the Giants. All would be 5-7, and Dallas would be 4-8, and still in it.
That's right.
I think. 2nd and 7. And Toussaint again to the 24. Let's check in with Michelle.
Well, Al, you know, DeAngelo Williams is often asked how he feels about his old team being undefeated. He told me, I'm happy for Carolina. I know how hard it is to win in this league. I have friends in that locker room, and I'm happy for them. Do I miss the guys? Yes. Do I miss being on the team? No. That's like introducing your ex-girlfriend to your new girlfriend and expecting her to accept her.
That doesn't work out.
I'm trying to think of a coda for that.
Yeah, that doesn't work out.
It's DeAngelo's take, right?
I love him.
We're buying it.
He is hilarious.
He's a great guy.
Oh, my gosh.
3rd and 4. And that is incomplete. Martavis Bryant almost came down with it. Ben came that close to throwing his 5th touchdown pass of the night. It's 4th down instead.
Just that little inside skinny post against Toller. I thought he was going to come down with this one. This one, it's almost more surprising when he misses one than when he catches something like that. Just a little bit out of his reach. Oh, Ben thought he had it. He was looking for number 5 there, wasn't he?
So now Boswell for the 42-yard attempt. And that tacks on 3 more. 38-10, 6.5 to play in Pittsburgh. Ball is juggled out of the end zone, still juggling it, and at least holding on. Tackled at the 13 is Quan Bray. Had it for Hasselback tonight. We'll see Charlie Whitehurst when we come back to Pittsburgh. Pretty good group right there. Most wins before their 44th birthday. Lambeau, Hallis, Shula, Coach Madden, and Mike Tomlin, who won't be 44 until March 15th next year. 89 wins. Charlie Whitehurst is the new quarterback, and the pass is caught, taken to the 19 by Daniel Herron. Whitehurst, he's been in the league since 2006. He spent 4 years in San Diego. He backed up Phillip Rivers. He got into 2 games in his first year, then none for 3 years. Went to Seattle where he backed up Hasselbeck, then back to San Diego, to Tennessee. Actually started 5 games last year and was waived by Tennessee and picked up here to back up Hasselbeck before Luck is ready to come back a couple of weeks ago. 2nd and 4. And Daniel Boom Herron out to the 22-yard line, 3rd down.
I can't get over that list that Mike Tomlin was on. Talking about a who's who of coaches in the history of this game. Holy cow. Young guy, but even this week, you know, all he was talking about, you know, they had a tough night in Seattle and some of his decisions were questioned, and all he was talking about was how positive he had to be with his football team. That you want to play complimentary football, but complimentary in a positive way. All week long, he built up this team, and they came out ready to play.
Has won a Super Bowl, has been to another. And they're going to stuff him on 3rd down and short. So the Colts cannot pick up the first down. That's Zerlon Tipton, the ball carrier.
Maybe it's just me, but James Harrison, no matter what I was running, I would want somebody to block him if I were going to run the ball. Every time somebody tries to run one of these short yardage things, they are just getting whacked by James Harrison coming off that edge. He takes a nice tight line, wastes no motion. And
McAfee to punt. This is Antonio Brown back to collect it, which he will at the 29-yard line. And Antonio Brown, look at him go.
They're by.
Gets by McAfee. It almost figures. Touchdown. Oh my God. Well, that'll draw a flag. I swear, you'd almost see that coming. Antonio Brown is back there. The game is over anyway. The Red Sea parts for him.
What a player he is.
And that makes it over in more ways than one.
And the biggest hit.
The touchdown is good. After the touchdown, unsportsmanlike conduct by the return team, number 84, using the goalpost as a prop.
Is that what it was?
A 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the ensuing kickoff.
The biggest hit Antonio Brown takes all night is from the goalpost.
Right.
What a player he is. Wow. You know, there's a lot of things these great players do that kids want to emulate. Don't do that one.
Don't try that at home.
No.
And Boswell for the point after.
And remember, the only reason he's back there is because Jacoby Jones fumbled a couple of them. Watch these moves. Just picture yourself as a defender running down the field. Good luck. This was a slight mismatch there. McAfee, no chance. That was almost a straight line. And this, I can barely watch this. Ow.
How about the security guy behind the goal? Security woman, I guess. Oh, what the hell?
Ben's though, he's like, what the heck was that? He's like, can you imagine if that superstar got hurt attacking a goalpost?
Yeah.
I've never seen it. You know, that's a great thing about the NFL. You say, I have seen it all. I didn't see this before. Oh, he did grab her hair. He did. I didn't see that. Watch her.
Insane. You can laugh about it now that you get a season-ending injury like that.
Now here, can you imagine? She's sitting there the whole game.
Right.
She's looking up at the crowd, and Ben saying, "Are you out of your mind?"
What was that?
They will replay that 10,000 times in the film session.
3 touchdowns for him tonight. 2 through the air. 1 on the return. This is a bouncing ball fielded up at the 33-yard line by Jack Doyle, and we go to Michelle.
Well, Al, with the game out of hand, Matt Hasselbeck is out of the game. Officially, he has a shoulder and neck injury. He won't return, Al.
All right, Michelle, so now the question becomes, will he be healthy enough to play next week? They go to Jacksonville. Luck probably won't be ready to play next week. Maybe the week after. And they got Whitehurst. That's it. All of a sudden, the Colts have a very large issue.
I'm going to bet on Hasselbeck playing in that one.
I would think so.
Look out, James Harrison again.
So Harrison, who created a fumble, got a sack, gets another one here. What a career for that guy. Of course, when it comes time to look at the James Harrison highlight tape, as we watch him coming through here, there is no question what leads that tape. It's one of the great epic plays in the history of the Super Bowl. Interception return, 100 yards just before the half against Arizona.
Oh, we're gonna have to give you oxygen at the end of that call.
That was
one of your all-time favorites, wasn't it? Where does that go on the all-time list? Now, okay, hockey, I get the Olympics, right. I get all that stuff.
Well, you take a look here. Now, here's a guy who's gassed at the end of the half. Here's Kurt Warner trying to throw, and it's picked off at the goal line. And watch the convoy here. And Fitzgerald runs along the sideline. He gets blocked by some of his own guys. Otherwise, he gets him. The clock is running out at this point. So if he doesn't get into the end zone, it's the end of the half. You don't even kick a field goal.
And what people don't remember about that was he was supposed to rush on the play and drop back in coverage on his own and made one of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history.
Epic. And then Roethlisberger to Holmes to wind up winning the game on the final drive. We missed one incomplete pass here. It will be third, make it 4th down and 10 now.
You ever put together a list of your all-time favorite single play calls? Single play, any sport. A new book for you. There you go.
No, there's no new book.
Yeah, you should do another one. It's been 2 weeks.
It's a pamphlet. Speaking of that, here's Michelle.
Well, this is a quick injury update. Steelers cornerback William Gay came to the bench, spoke with the head athletic trainer and the team internist. He went back to the locker room, and he is in the concussion protocol, Al.
All right. Michelle will check on that. Well, Mike Eruzione may hit the list.
Yeah.
That would do it.
That was a retirement shot. I want to see that list, man. Just in case we ever get in another one of these games. I need.
We're liable to be in a few.
We need
45-10. That's some fun in football. Antonio Freeman making that catch in Green Bay in overtime.
He did what?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I thought, well, maybe I'm the only guy who didn't see what took place. But then Brett Favre told me after the game he had no idea what took place. He threw a touchdown pass.
How about Matt Hasselbeck putting worms in Brett Favre's dip when they played together?
Backed them up in Green Bay. That's Dante Moncrief, who's had a silent night until now. Had a big game last week. And Moncrief will take the ball to the 23-yard line.
Yeah, Moncrief had career-high 8 catches in that game. Had 4 touchdowns in the first 6 games, but none since. I tell you, you have to give this bunch a lot of credit. They came out with a different game plan tonight, did the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it paid dividends. They were sharp tonight.
And Whitehurst over the middle and incomplete. Harrison almost picked that one off. Intended for Fleener, 2nd down and 10.
Oh boy. James Harrison's had one of those nights of nights here tonight. A couple of sacks and almost added to it with this one. He is not happy either. That's once on Hard Knocks when he was with the Bengals. Somebody decided they were the arm wrestling champion. He sat him down. It took about 3 seconds for that to end.
This is Herron taking it to the 15.
You know, this is one of those games for the Colts. You just shake it off, right? You leave here, you maybe don't even watch the tape, and you go, okay, I get it. Pittsburgh Steelers a little better than we are right now, but it doesn't mean we can't win the division, go to the playoffs, and anything can happen from there. I can remember a time that Arizona got beat 50-0 in a game and came back and went to the Super Bowl.
Somebody said they were like the worst playoff team that they had seen.
Go to the 2-minute warning.
That was your best call, right? A minute and 57 left. Pittsburgh on their way to a 7-5 record.
Got it right on Sunday night.
Got him. Hat trick.
Harrison. Wow. 13th year in the league. Had 2 sacks coming into the game. Trio tonight.
Yeah, Joe Wright's flipping over from the right tackle to left tackle and really no match. And to be expected, really. If you've got to drop back and throw it every down against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to get you, and that guy in particular.
2nd and goal. Whitehurst taken to the ground by Shazier. 3rd and goal. So we talked about the Colts and what they have, and then the Steelers at Cincinnati next week. Denver comes here, and then the 2 road games to end it. They go to Baltimore and they go to Cleveland.
Boy, that first Cincinnati game was just a slugfest. It was really a classic. And now Pittsburgh, who's had so much success over the years in Cincinnati, including in the playoffs, comes back for the rematch.
And one more sack. This time it's Arthur Moats. So Harrison has 3 sacks tonight. That's 5 sacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, let's take a look at the coverage. Antoine Blake, under a little heat last week, has been had a lot of passes thrown at him this year. Shazier on coverage with Fleener on the outside. There's Brandon Boykin, who's done a good job coming in and taking some snaps off these guys.
And on 4th and goal, that will all but wrap it up as they turn it over on downs, and Pittsburgh can run the clock out.
Exactly what the Steelers needed, a big time performance in a game they had to have, and they got it done.
Big nights for a lot of guys. Ben for 364 and 4 touchdowns. D'Angelo Williams, a 5.2 average, came in averaging 4.9. Great game and a great year for him. And Antonio Brown, just another one of those nights and days. He does it so often.
We'll pick out a few guys on the defense too. James Harrison, of course, with a big night tonight as well. Jarvis Jones, that early interception sort of set the tone. Even Brandon Boykin with one.
You know, Landry Jones will finish it out with a kneel down, and that will take us all the way to the end.
Thank you, man. All the best to you, man. You know what? Hey, what's up, big man? How you doing? Good to see you, man. All the best.
So 7-5 are the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Indianapolis Colts are at 500 now. Their 3-game streak is over.